In the dream, two women stand across from each other, one radiant, one shadowed. Between them, a white table glows like an altar. The air hums. It's not a surgery, it's a ceremony. This dream, the operating table of shadows, speaks about healing, but not the kind that happens in hospitals. It's the healing that happens when light and darkness finally agree to work together. Tonight we'll step inside that dream and listen to what it's trying to tell us. Before we break down the symbols, feel the atmosphere again. What was the emotional temperature of the dream? Was it heavy or sacred? Lonely or luminous? Dreams speak first through feeling. It's how the subconscious and spirit gets your attention. In this case, the energy felt like sacred exhaustion, the ego at the end of its strength, being asked to surrender rather than fight. There's fear in that surrender, but also an unseen gentleness guiding it. That emotional field is our doorway in. The house is the first symbol that calls to us. In dreams, a house often mirrors the self, the mind, the emotional body, the inner landscape we inhabit when the world falls away. But this house feels different. It's borrowed, stripped down, a liminal space, not truly yours, not fully lived in. Its walls hold no memories, its rooms no history. It's a shelter without roots, a temporary safety before the next threshold, a holding chamber between identities, between who you were and who you are becoming. There's a still blush tint to the light, the echoes of life once warm and familiar. You can almost feel the ghost of belonging, the half-forgotten intimacy that once made you feel at home. But that ember is fading. The dream has emptied this place for a reason. In this house, you're not alone. Friends appear, aspects of yourself that once felt supportive, comforting, safe. But sharing the same space are the red-eyed figures, the shadowed presences. Together they show a deep truth. You're standing in a space where your supportive parts and your draining parts coexist, light and shadow under one roof, duality alive in the same breath. The friends represent what was once stable, parts of your psyche that offer comfort, familiarity, perhaps even escape. But in a dream of transformation, not all of them can come with you. They're volunteers of the self, stepping forward to be seen, to be released, to be rewoven. This house is not a place to stay. It's a stage being set, a waiting room between worlds, between the old life and the next initiation. The dream clears the space so the ritual can begin. They wait in the periphery, the red-eyed figures, not demons, not monsters, but something far more intimate. They are the parts of you that have learned to survive in darkness. At first glance, they seem threatening. Eyes that pierce, energy that drains. But in the language of dreams, the shadow never comes to harm you. It comes to be witnessed. These are emotions, memories, instincts that were once exiled for being too much. Anger, grief, exhaustion, fear, all the raw matter you hid away to stay functional. When they appear, it means the veil between consciousness and the unconscious has thinned. You're no longer separate from what you buried. This is the moment when the psyche invites confrontation, not to fight, but to reintegrate. Notice how they share the same house as your friends. That coexistence is everything. It shows that healing doesn't begin when the shadow disappears. It begins when the self can stand in the same room with what once terrified it. The red eyes are awareness. The light of recognition breaking through the dark. They see you as clearly as you see them. Their presence means you're strong enough to acknowledge your own depth, to sit with discomfort instead of fleeing it. Each figure represents a fragment waiting to be reclaimed, the power that was hidden beneath the fear, the vitality beneath the fatigue. When the shadow steps forward, the ritual has begun. The dream is preparing you for the next stage. Before the operation begins, there is her, the woman who leads you in, fierce, familiar, radiant. She feels at once human and mythic, a kind of presence that leaves no space for hesitation. Sometimes the psyche borrows a famous face to embody an archetype, a form we already associate with power, beauty, and authority. Here, her resemblance to a famous actor is no accident. It's your soul choosing a face that your mind recognizes as both protector and warrior. She straddles beauty and danger, compassion sharpened into strength. In dreams, such a woman is the threshold keeper, the embodiment of your higher guidance, the self with a capital S, who steps forward when avoidance has reached its limit. She doesn't coddle, she commands. Her voice cuts through the fog. You can't keep doing this. They'll take you if you keep running. This isn't a threat, it's truth. It's the moment the deeper self declares that the old survival patterns have expired. Running from the shadow no longer protects you. It only feeds what chases you. She's here to make sure you face it, but not alone. Her actions in the dream carry enormous symbolic weight. When she drags you towards the table, it's not cruelty, it's intervention. She's pulling you towards the place of transformation, because she knows you're too exhausted to walk there yourself. She's the guardian who ensures the initiation completes. And when she breaks the ritual pattern, kissing you herself instead of allowing the red-eyed beings to do it, that's the moment of divine interception. It's the higher self stepping in to modulate the process, ensuring that integration happens without destruction. She doesn't stop the ritual, she alters it, protecting you from being overwhelmed while still allowing the transformation to unfold. She stands between you and the forces of the shadow, not as a barrier, but as a translator, ensuring the encounter heals rather than consumes. Her presence says, you will face what you fear, but you will not face it unguarded. She is your strength made visible, the fierce compassion that drags you through the threshold when your conscious self no longer can. She asks you to trust her even when you cannot trust yourself, to step forward even as the ground shifts beneath you. The deeper truth is this: she is you, the part of you that refuses to let you break. She is the warrior within the light, the voice that says, enough hiding, it's time to return to yourself. The table waits, sterile in waking life, but here alive. It's not a place of medicine, it's a place of initiation. In this dream, the operation table becomes an altar, a meeting ground between the human and the divine, between fear and release, between what must die and what is ready to live. Every operation requires surrender, to lie open, exposed, and trust that what's being removed is something the soul no longer needs to carry. That's why the dreamer feels panic, exhaustion, even terror. This is not symbolic fear, it's cellular. The body remembers what it means to give up control. But look closer. The room is not cruel. The light that fills it is soft, deliberate. The presence of the healer and the guide ensures this is not destruction. It is sacred disassembly. In dream language, a table is a site of decision and offering. We place things upon it, our truth, our resistance, our old selves. Here the dreamer's own being is the offering. The ritual says, lay yourself down so that what's false may be lifted out. Here the impossible happens. The shadow itself becomes the surgeon. The same figures that once terrified you now move with purpose, hands steady, eyes glowing, not with malice, but with focus. They aren't here to destroy you, they're here to take part in your healing. This is one of the most profound turns a dream can take, when the unconscious no longer attacks, but assists in its own integration. When the darkness that once chased you finally kneels beside you to help remove the splinters of fear it once embodied. It's unsettling because healing rarely looks gentle at first. The dreamer feels panic, exhaustion, resistance. It feels like too much. But that's because the ego still believes the shadow's presence means danger. The soul knows otherwise. The shadow performing the operation means that the psyche has reached a level of trust where even the rejected parts are allowed to participate in your evolution. The exiled energies are no longer being suppressed or feared, they are being invited to serve their true purpose. And besides the shadow stands the woman, the guide, the fierce and luminous keeper of thresholds. She doesn't stop them, she joins them, her hands moving in tandem, sometimes steadying, sometimes soothing, her presence the bridge between the light and the dark. Together they embody a rare alchemy, the shadow performing, the guide directing, the dreamer surrendering. This is not an invasion, it's a cooperation across dimensions of the self. When the guide assists in the operation, it changes everything. She is your higher consciousness, stepping into the scene to modulate the process, ensuring the shadow's power is used precisely, not destructively. This is the psyche performing its own sacred surgery, the light guiding the darkness' hands. It's the moment when all divided forces within you find common cause in your healing. The shadow knows what needs to be removed, the suppressed anger, grief, exhaustion. The guide knows how deep to cut and when to stop. Together they act as surgeon and overseer, the instinctual and the divine working in perfect rhythm. To the dreamer, it feels like dying. Every cell vibrates with resistance. The ego trembles at exposure. But under that fear is trust. Fragile, growing, luminous. Because somewhere deep inside, you know this isn't annihilation. It's reclamation. And then silence. Everything familiar. The house, the woman, the table, even the body disappears. You're left in the void. But this isn't emptiness. It's the living filled before creation, the womb of unformed potential. Here, consciousness isn't bound by edges. You're suspended in vibration, floating in the breath between what was and what's about to be. Out of that stillness, color begins to move. Soft frequencies rise and twine together, blue, green, and violet, not as light beams, but as living tones, pulsing with intelligence. They simmer like woven frequencies, the soul rebuilding itself through sound and light. Each carries its own function in the reassembly. Blue hums with truth, the return of the authentic voice after silence. Green radiates healing, the heart recalibrating after fragmentation. Violet pulses with spiritual alignment, integration of spirit, shadow, and purpose. Here you're not asked to think, only to feel. Words don't matter, vibration and energy does. This is the realm where understanding happens through resonance, not reasoning. Every soundless tone says, you are being rewoven. As the work finishes, the light fades, not because it's over, but because it's complete. The dream shows that the operation was never external. It was the dreamer reclaiming and reintegrating aspects that were once abandoned. Healing isn't about being fixed. It's about being revealed. About seeing what's always been whole beneath the noise of fear. The house, the figures, the woman, the table, the void. Each a facet of the same truth. Light and shadow are not separate paths. They are one current flowing towards awakening. When both are invited to the table, transformation becomes profound. When we return from dreams like this, we don't come back unchanged. Something subtle, or not subtle, has shifted. An inner rhythm restored. The shadow that once frightened you now stands beside you. The light that once healed you now lives within you. Carry that awareness gently. Let it move through your waking life as quietly as breath, the knowing that even in darkness, you were never alone. If this dream spoke to you, ask yourself, if you were on that table tonight, what would you be ready to release? And what part of you would hold the light? You are watching The Dream Realm. Subscribe and journey deeper with me, where every dream is a message waiting to be understood. Until next time, sleep well and dream deeply.